Without further ado, I am very proud and pleased to announce Marco Sturm as the 30th head coach of the Boston Bruins.
Marco, go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon. I don't know what's going on anymore, right? But I'm extremely proud and excited to be here, obviously, to get named the 30th head coach of the Boston Bruins. I mean, that alone, just to say it really gets me excited. First of all, I want to say thank you to the Jacobs family, to Don Sweeney, and to Cam Neely. I'm very honored to take this team to the next level, right? But I also want to say thank you to the Los Angeles Kings organization. What a classy organization that is, I can tell you. Especially Rob Blake and Glenn Murray. Those two guys brought me back to the NHL, so that means a lot. Also, my Ontario Reign guys, we built something together there for the last 3 years, so I will never forget that. Well, unfortunately, he's not here today, but my agent, Gil Scott, he guided me through the process very smoothly, so I just want to say thank you to that. And most importantly, my family. It was not easy. A lot of people don't know. I was by myself in LA for the last 6 years, and because I was chasing my dream, right? And without my family, I couldn't done it. Quick story. They've been bugging me for a while to get a place in Boston, right? They always wanted. They grew up here. My kids grew up here. They always wanted to come back, and here I am. Right now, they got their wish. But thank you for your love and support through all these years. And I'm also very excited to see Bergie again. Patrice Bergeron, he came up today, so thank you for coming and supporting me. Going through the process, I had a little taste last year for the first time with the Sharks, and then this year a few more. But I'm going to tell you this. When I saw Don Sweeney's name on my text, it was pretty special. It got me really excited, right? And of course, I want to be an NHL coach, but this means more, right? And why? I think there's a few reasons. I think the identity, and Don was talking about the culture we built here 20 years ago. It's still here, all right? The style and all the winning mindset we had. I think that's something just gets me really excited, and that's what I believe in. I also think working with especially with Don and Cam on a regular basis, because I know they're gonna push me hard. All right, we want to lead by example every day. So for that, I'm really looking forward to push also the team to the next level as well. All right. So to wrap things up, I think lastly is we need everyone together here. Right. That means it's going to be up to me and my coaching staff. It's going to be up to my players. It's going to be up to management, and also up to the fans of the Boston Bruins. And again, I got such a good memories here, and I know the fans will definitely, as soon as they feel it, that there's something good happening here, they will support you. I know that. Kind of goes the other way too, but I don't want to talk about that. I want to look forward, and that's our goal. That's going to be our goal. I know we got work to do. We have lots of work to do. I know that. We're not going to fix it overnight, but we're gonna prepare starting day one at training camp, because I believe in teams win championship, not one coach, not one player. So thank you very much, and thanks for having me.
Thank you, Marco, and congratulations. Now it's time to open up for our Q&A portion of today's availability. We have two wireless mics, Annie and Hannah. Please signal. When it is your turn to ask a question, I do ask that you state your name and your affiliation, and also direct your question to either Marco or Don. With that, we'll start with Steve Conroy.
Steve Conroy, Boston Herald. Marco, when you look at this roster, and I realize it could be a little different, a month from now, but where do you see the biggest challenges in this roster?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I think that the process already started last season at the trading deadline, right? There will be some changes, and again, but what I like is, and I told Don and Cam that I still love our team, even without any addition, right? Because I think we have good goaltending. I think when everyone stays healthy, we have a really good D-core, right? I think we hopefully want to add a few pieces up front, but overall, I do like our core. But having said that, I think depth-wise, we just probably need a little bit more. And I think in our DNA, in the Bruins DNA, playing good defensively, it's not going to change. But we have to find a way to be more productive offensively. I think that's going to be our goal, and not sure challenge, but that's what we're going to address from day one, and obviously special teams will be a big part too.
Jim.
Jim McBride, Boston Globe. Marco, during your playing career, was there a point in time when you thought coaching was going to be in your future, and was there a coach that was particularly molded how you wanted to be?
Yeah, no, the coaching part, I think it actually kicked in probably when I was done playing. I wanted to spend more time with my family, and that didn't work out. But, I started with my kids, and then I was with the German national team, and that's where I really realized this is actually me. And that's where I have passion for, that's where I'm good at. And then took off after that. So during my playing time, actually, not really. I never even thought about being a coach one day.
Joe Haggerty, Boston Sports Journal. Marco, welcome back to Boston. You talked about building that culture 20 years ago, your group that you were with. How do you define that culture that you built? What were the qualities of it? What do you think are the most important things in a winning culture for a hockey team that you've found since you've been a coach and also when you were as a player?
Yeah, I always call it the heartbeat of the locker room, right? And that has to come from the guys inside. And again, I've been through it, right? I've been through it because I was part of it. And having guys like Berge and Z and myself, and we added pieces after that changed everything. And for me, it started right at practice, Little things like that, the way we prepared, the way we competed every day. It doesn't matter if it's practice or game. That for me changed the whole thing right away just by doing that. I think our mindset, I was talking about that, winning hockey games, not just going into hockey games and play the game. No, we actually want to win. We do everything about it. And again, it trickled down. And that's why for me it's so important that the core guys got to lead, right? And I'm going to tell you this. I already talked to a bunch of guys, all my veterans on the current team right now, and I can tell right away they learn from the Bergeron, they learn from the Chara, because they already have it in there, and that really got me excited too. And I know we just got to guide them again, and again we got to reestablish the whole thing, because these guys are not here anymore. So now it's going to be up to us and the new group to lead this group to a new era.
Adam.
Marco, Adam Pellerin from Nesson. Congratulations, first off.
Thank you.
Secondly, What were your impressions of Boston as a player, specifically the fan base, and how can that understanding help you as you start your tenure as head coach?
I already touched on it a little bit. So when I got traded, Joe Thornton trade, I mean, it was not my fault, right? But I got here and it was difficult. I'm not going to lie. It was difficult because everyone loved Joe and it was a big trade. But I understood really quickly why that happened, and also, we had guys in the locker room. They wanted them to lead. So I saw that year or two. It was a little painful, right? It was not easy. As soon as you read the paper or social media or even you go on the street, people will let you know, right? But also it will pushes you, and that's what I saw it the positive way. And then I mentioned it before, the years after that, especially when Claude took over, you could see the process, right? You could see every year how we got better. And all of a sudden I see a big change here in the city of Boston because they're behind you. And that feeling alone, it feels like yesterday to me, and that's exactly what I want to bring back, all right? Forget about winning and losing. Yes, we have to win. I know that, all right? But even when there were tough stretches, tough games, that feeling, and hopefully the fans in the city of Boston will feel it every time they're going to watch us play, all right? We got to compete. We're going to be structured, I can tell you that. But we also got to compete and make everyone proud.
Matt?
Don, Matt Votor, Mass Live. For you, when you're going through this process, how much are you thinking about, you have a plan for how the roster construction is going to happen this summer and looking for a coach that fits that? Or is there a flip of that? You're looking at Marco comes in and how can you build a roster that fits his strength? And how much does he play a role from here forward in helping you kind of get a feel for what you want the roster to look like?
Well, we went through the coaching search fully understanding that we were not the same team we had been previously and what we're not going to be, by the time the season opens. The personnel side of it is a little more hypothetical. You're talking about potentially younger players, where a coach might see them. They're not familiar with those players. So we're not overselling. We are leaving it as an open canvas to have an open and honest dialogue to say these guys are part of a solution, but they may not be on your opening roster. You have to decide that. So the coaching philosophies were really about coach. How do you want to coach? What are the styles of players that might fit that and the structure you want to play with, and how do we complement, how do we evolve, and move our roster forward? Our pro staff has to do the work required. Our scouts in terms of the draft, maybe not this year, but moving forward. This is about a growth opportunity for the organization as well, and Marco's a big part of that moving forward now. So we will reshape. Again, he's not a player personnel guy. He's got the tools to take. He's been part of player development, so he knows that path and what it takes to make those steps. So he can challenge whoever it's going to be. Pick a player, whether it's Poitras, whether it's Minton, it doesn't matter. Take that player in those situations he's learned from, whether it's over in Germany or whether it's in actually implementing them in LA and then stepping back to see them take the jump. So that was more about the process of how we're going to get there. But it was always about the coaching. It was always about how you're going to coach, how you want to change, how we're going to play, and what our identity is going to be.
Marco, congratulations. Duke Castiglione from WCVB here in Boston. You mentioned when you came over in the trade, the Joe Thornton trade, it wasn't easy. And you guys were going through a transition period, rebuilding. Can you draw on those experiences now as a head coach, as you guys, obviously you referenced the trades at the deadline and you're transitioning here as well?
Yeah, no, and it helps, again, being in that locker room, that I think that even helps even more because I felt it every day, the good and bad. Again, I mentioned it before. It took a little bit of time, but as long as I think we knew I got traded, but we're going to win the cup, right? And it was just a matter of time because we were pushing so hard. when I got to LA, almost similar situation. Now I've been through it as a coach, right? But we still had the Kopitar and the Quick and the Brown and these guys. So, I've been through it as a player. I've been through it as a coach too, be part of it. And I think those big moments actually, those helped me a lot because, a lot of times I go by feel, right? Nothing is, there's a lot of things that's planned, yes, of course, but a lot of things, what I do, it's just because the experience I had in the past. And those are those moments what will help me a lot.
Kevin DuPont, Boston Globe. Marco, congratulations. I'll come back later with a question, but Don, I've got a couple for you first. One about the process and then one about the team. Process being during the sort of vetting and interviewing, was there one thing or one principle that Marco expressed that really caught your ear, that not necessarily convinced you but separated him?
I don't think it was any one thing, Kevin, to be honest with you. As we were going through the process, you could see that Marco would get more passionate, not just because he was a player here. Really, that drifted off into the background pretty quickly. It was about passion for coaching and the path that he has taken, the sacrifices he's made, and the structure he not just lives his life with, but how he coaches, talking to his players, talking to his staff that he interacted with on a daily basis at the NHL level, at the American League level, and realizing that this was his path that he had chosen and wanted to be a head coach. And that kept resonating in terms of how we are, where we are now, and him being part of reestablishing what we want to be. I think they go hand in hand. As I said, there's structure, there's communication, there's a reestablishment of culture, knowing offensively. He was an offensive player, trying to convince an offensive player that has gaps in his games that you can't get to the NHL until you do both sides of the ledger. There's a reward there. And knowing a player going through that, convincing a player to go through that, and then seeing him at the NHL level have success, that's rewarding to Marco because he's been on that path. So all those things, were resonating with me in throughout the hiring process, and keep going back each time you have the conversation, which probably drifts longer than he wants to have. But again, the passion comes out in terms of how he wants to take your roster as it is now and how we're going to build and be better as a result of it.
And one other about just coaching in general, or coaching specific to what you've watched here for the last, say, 2 or 3 years. Marco is very deliberate about the assistants really putting in a lot of work, showing up early, spending the day, putting in the hours. I'm just wondering, from watching your team day to day these last 2 to 3 years, not necessarily a specific assistant here, but just in terms of how much the team has worked in terms of practice and preparation, was that something on your list you wanted more?
I mean, there's no way we can indict the staff that's been part of the organization that I've been for 10 years. The staff works hard. Are there details that Marco is going to bring? Is it a fresh approach and a new voice? Yeah, undoubtedly that's going to help our club, and we're going to grow from that. So I think everybody benefits. Now, if the head coach beats you to the rink every morning as a staff member, it probably wakes you up and realize that the grind is here and we're going to put the hours in that are necessary. But it's also part of the fun process that he's going to introduce, because he knows that there are moments that you've got to cut tension and you have to understand, like, you step away and you build from that as well. There are perfect opportunities for him now to take a leadership group that needs to be reestablished, make a decision eventually organizationally as a captain, and they get to build it together. That's a fun part of the process that we spoke about, and he's excited about that, and I think the players that he's spoken to are also excited about that.
I'm sorry, on your first questions, I'm gonna follow up on that. The one thing I didn't mention was, and Don said it perfectly the other day, timing is everything, right? And again, yes, I wanted to be an NHL coach, guaranteed. But also I looked at some teams, and I know that wouldn't be probably a good fit. And there's a reason why I took my time, right? Because I didn't want to take my first opportunity and just go for it. No, I wanted to be prepared. And yes, I've always wanted to come back here, obviously, but I think the timing of it was just perfect, right? I mean, selfishly, I'm glad, the Bruins didn't play well last year, because otherwise I wouldn't be here. Let's be honest, right? But again, timing is everything, and where we at right now as a team, that's me, right? This is my strength, and we went through all the things already and pointed out all those points. But again, that on top of it, and I agree, it has nothing to do I played it or not. This for me in my world, this was the perfect fit. And there's a few more teams probably in the league. I would say the same thing, but overall, this was it. And that was just another thing on my thing. I thought the timing was just right.
Trey?
Trey Dare with Channel 7 here in Boston. Marco, congratulations, welcome as well. Kind of a bit of a follow-up on what you just said. The standings are what they are. This is a team that was fifth from the bottom of the NHL. So how do you view the job in terms of the process or the construct of a rebuild against the pressure of trying to win now?
Yeah, I'm a guy who I'm not going to look too much ahead. I will be honest. Sometimes I just go day by day or game by game, and for me the most important thing is right now going through my my coaching staff, for example, and we have the draft. We have a few things coming up, the development camp, and then it's all about business, right? And for me, I'm going to prepare for training camp day one, and that for me, I'm going to set the tone there, and we're going to set the tone as a team and as an organization, and that's all what I'm thinking right now. I'm very honest. So because I know when we do that the right way, things it will be fine, all right? It will be positive, but again, we got to put in the work in first. We got to build that foundation again from the bottom, and I'm not just gonna look ahead for something I just can't control right now. So again, this is my focus right now. Get to know the players, build that relationship, getting everyone on the same page, and get them excited again to wear this jersey every night.
Fluto?
Fluto Shinzawa, The Athletic. Marco, welcome back. One for you and one for Don. If you look at your time in Ontario, the 3 years that you spent there, you were able to get to the playoffs. You were able to get guys up to LA. What are you most proud of in terms of your accomplishments in helping Ontario those 3 years?
Learning especially from a guy like Todd McLennan, for me, it was the perfect fit, the perfect coach to learn from, then going back to the minors. And you got to understand, sometimes I say, now I'm ready, or you can hear Marco is ready, but you got to know, I probably knew the on-ice stuff, right? I knew it as a player, a coach. I've seen a lot, and now getting a lot of information from Todd and how he runs it, how he prepares. So that's something I think I wanted to get better at, and I needed someone, I would say, to guide me through it. And that's exactly what happened. And that's why the minor league, that's why those years kick in, right? Because I had a chance to put it all together, all right? To put it all together. And again, after 2 years, I felt like it's time, right? And I said it before, I had a little taste with San Jose last year, and definitely this year. You learn from those kind of years, being ahead, being controlled, being in charge every night, and those years were so important for me, all right? And that's why I'm glad I did it that way.
And then one for Don. Approximately how many people did you speak to in terms of the process?
I believe the process started out, I think the number was 14 that I started with. Again, some of them were initial conversations, but there was always one or two, so probably about 14.
So I'm sure you heard lots of interesting concepts hockey-wise from all these folks that have spent so many years in the game. But then in your conversations with Marco and your presentations, if you look specifically at the hockey side, was there something that he said that made you think, oh, that's interesting, I'd like to see that come alive in person?
I don't think it was any one thing. Obviously, we didn't spend a lot of time on the gaps in our roster, to tell you the truth. We spent a lot more time on the strength of returning to full health and the core group of guys that we have and what we're capable of doing. Evolving offensively was certainly a topic that we had a lot of discussion about how we want to play and how we want to forecheck and why we're going to do things, why he believes in them coaching-wise and how it's going to transition to our game for results. And it wasn't just about how we were going to defend. The structure part that reference-wise was all over the ice, and understanding what your responsibilities in any one capacity as a player are going to be, and effectively communicating and convincing your players that that's why you're going to have success. Those things all just continue to resonate, whether you're the youngest player or the oldest player. Didn't differentiate in terms of whether, the NHL level talking to Kopitar or whether or not at the minor league level, convincing Byfield and Clark that they have to do things this way. So I think it was just the philosophical approach of how we're going to play, regardless of the player. You can plug and play any player. Maybe it's because you do get traded and realize you end up somewhere else, and you have to now become a player within that system. And effectively play to your strengths, but also within the confines of what the constructs of what the coach is trying to get you to do. His command of the situations, regardless. We took our video and applied some situations that how would you do things differently in these situations, and convince the players that that's why we were going to do it. So there wasn't really any gaps in terms of what his command was as a coach, and that those things always spoke to me. But it wasn't strictly about defending. It was about evolving as a club.
Evan? Oh, Scott, sorry.
Scott McLaughlin, WEI. Marco, congratulations. One for each of you, if I could. First from Marco, we've now heard evolving offensively several times. When you get this team playing the way you want them to play, what does that look like for you?
I mean, there's different ways to approach things. I think when I talk about, we want to score more goals. Scoring more goals is not just in the offensive zone. Yes, that's where the puck gonna end up. But for me, it all starts, how are we gonna get there? So that's a big part too. Not just focusing on one area. I think there's different areas in the game where we can definitely get better. It's coming out with the puck. We want to have the puck more. We got to have better entries, for example, not turn pucks over. I think that part was a big issue. And the offensive zone, yeah. I mean, we're going to build that structure in place, right? But we also got to be more hungry, and we got to have a better mindset. So there's not just one thing. There's a bunch of other things I think we just have to get better at. And again, I want them to have that offensive mindset and the mentality when we have the puck, right? We want to play with pace, with and without the puck, and I think not just think a game, we just want to play the game fast. And yeah, it's not going to happen overnight, but that's something I will address right away as soon as possible.
And for Don, the power play was an issue all of last season and even late the season before. Do you feel like you have the personnel and staff to fix that, or could there still be an addition of, a fresh set of eyes to look at that?
Well, to follow up on finishing up Marco's point, some of the things that resonated were to be predictable to each other and be connected, and that's all three zones. It lends into the power play. One of the things we struggled with organizationally was we had 4 of 5 personnel returning from the year before, where we were top 10 most of the year, and towards the end of the year before we went into the playoffs, we stumbled a little bit and fell to like 13 or 14 in the league. We brought back 4 of the same of 5. We added players in Lindholm who had been a bumper player in Calgary and had success there, and we sunk to 28th in the league. A lot of it was the entries, a lot of it was some of the injuries that we did, but those are no excuses. We have to find a way to be more connected, more predictable, and understand what our strengths are as a group. And we spent a lot of time on it. Now, the personnel of that could change between now and opening night, but there are some guys that are going to go in and have to execute that are currently on our roster. and we're gonna attack that. And it's something that Marco spent time on and have an understanding of what we need to do. Broke down. Obviously, I heard from different teams in terms of how they're going to do things, and entries were a big problem for us. Execution-wise, we had passed on the elbow and then moved more to the downhill. So he's explaining to me how that's going to go, and putting personnel in situations that we can succeed as a result of that. So there was a lot of time spent on addressing specialty teams overall, because it had been a strength of our hockey club for a lot of years, and we took a significant step back this year.
Marco, congratulations. Angel Salcido, WCVB. Don, this question is for you. You guys have a substantial amount of draft capital going into this year. What kind of collaborative process are you going to kick off with Marco now that this is finally, he's introduced, process is finalized? What's next for the team?
I haven't met a coach that worries too much about draft capital, other than if you're going to use it to improve his current club. That'll always be a recommendation of the coach. And I'm not speaking for Marco. I'm assuming he'll validate it. Yeah. But it's always going to be about what's best for the organization. We're in a unique position this year, drafting in the top 10, that we haven't been there for a significant amount of time. We're excited about that. We have 2 second-round picks. We have 2 firsts following year, 2 firsts. We've been an aggressive organization. Whether or not you want to point out fault in regards to trying to win and accomplish the ultimate goal, that's what we're here for. So we will use the draft capital and try and improve our hockey club this year and moving forward in every capacity possible. It might be making the selection, but it won't mean that we aren't having conversations that says, how do we improve our hockey club today and moving forward?
Evan Marinovsky, New England Hockey Journal. Don, Joe Sacco's off to New York. Are Chris Kelly and Jay Leach returning next season?
I want to congratulate Joe and thank Joe. 11 years is a long time to be with the organization and work with several different head coaches, and he did a fabulous job with us, and wish he and Tammy and his family well in New York. A lot of conversations about staff between Marco and myself. He's excited that Jay and Chris Kelly, Bob Ascenz are all returning to be part of that. We are in a search for another assistant coach that can complement and fill in the gaps that we may currently have. So we're aggressively looking for somebody to help, in an area that we feel we need to complement Marco and the current staff.
In the back, Ian Steele, ABC6 Providence. Marco, welcome back. Taking your first NHL head coaching job in Boston seems like a challenge. How do you make up for the lack of NHL head coaching experience?
Yeah, I mean, every job, it doesn't matter if you're in Boston or not, it will be a challenge, but it's a good challenge. I love challenges. And again, that goes back to my playing days, and nothing really changed coaching-wise, too. I approached things the same way, and I want to get challenged, right? I want to get challenged from Don every day, from my coaches, from my players, because I know that will make me better, right? So I know the expectation here. I know how it is, but again, long as I'm putting more my work in and my preparation, I know I will be in good shape. And again, that's something I never really thought about and worried about, and that's why maybe I made it that far too. So it's part of it. You got to be mentally strong, and that's what I try to do all through these years, and that's what I will try to give to my players. Same thing. You can't overreact. You can't. I know these guys care. I really do. But sometimes there's times you have to settle them down too, and put them in the right path here. But I think that makes me unique, and that's the same way I will approach it again going into my first year.
Chad Jones, Black and Gold Productions. Marco, so as a former NHL player yourself, were there any specific attitudes or styles of coaching that you thought you responded to better as a player that you would want to bring into this Bruins locker room?
Yeah, no, I mean, again, I going through a lot of teams, you're going to have your favorites, coaches, teams, teammates, whatever it is. I thought the older style, the old generation with Darryl Sutter and Claude Julien were by far for me the best coaches I ever had. Why? Because they were very honest to me, very direct, even if I like it or not. But also, you got to understand things change, right? Not everyone is the same. Not everyone is Marco Sturm. Not everyone is Patrice Bergeron. Everyone is different. And that's the beauty about coaching right now is you can't treat everyone the same way, right? So you got to have a good feel for it, who to poke and who not. And that's why I still like that mix in our locker room, right? Because of, like I mentioned, from the older guys, they still have that Bruins DNA. I love it, all right? But there will be some other guys I can treat those guys just like the older guys. So, again, that's where we at. If you look around in the NHL, the coaches are getting higher right now. I feel like this is a little bit the new trend here, and I'm one of them. And I'm going to do my best to, get everyone on the same page and get, the most importantly, get the best out of everyone, all right? And this will be my job.
Andrew Fantuccio, Boston Hockey Now. Two questions, one for Marco, one for Don. Marco first. As a coach, how do you see the best way to incorporate young players into becoming regulars at the NHL level? Do you see room for them to be able to make mistakes when they first get in the lineup, or do you want them to be more kind of complete, full players by the time they're ready to take on that role?
No, of course, we're all going to make mistakes, old, young, it doesn't matter. And the longest you're going to support them. But you also got to be, you got to be very honest and direct with them. You got to work with them. And they also have to learn from, I feel like, they're going to learn from our core group, from the older guys. So, and that's why the whole thing, it's so important. It's not just me, it's the team, right? And they got to see it every day in practice, for example. They got to see how guys practice every day. So the young guys can follow. There shouldn't be any excuses. All right, and again, it's an easy way out, and a lot of guys take that route, and I'm just not one of them, right? And that's why I address things very directly because of again, Claude Julien, Daryl Sutter, those are the guys I learned from, and by being honest, I think you come a long way. But those young guys, and Don said it, they're gonna earn it too, right? I'm going to do everything in my power to get them better, but also it's got to come from them too, to jump on that wagon and show me that they're willing to do all those things we wanted them to do.
And then, Don, I'm just curious, throughout this process, I'm sure you talk with people within the front office, but were you checking in, or whether it be at the end of your interviews with current players, about what qualities they wanted in their next head coach, and did that kind of influence your search at all?
I've had conversations, year-end wise in terms of coaching search and understanding what players, how they felt. During the process, I did not run a particular name or style by our players. I think our players innately want to be coached. They want to have an understanding of how they're going to be coached, and they value the same things we organizationally value: communication, respect, and culture. And it resonated in terms of how Marco was going to treat players, how he's going to communicate with players, being very direct but supportive at all levels of where the players are in their development. And therefore, I felt very comfortable. I wasn't looking for validation from our players in any way, shape, or form from deciding who the coach was going to be. I want them to understand that Marco's in charge, and we think we picked a really good coach, and they're going to go to work.
Marco, Kevin Dupont again. I'm curious about the one position open on the coaching staff from a variety of areas. You think more in terms of an old guy, a young guy, a special teams person, a new guy, or that spectrum of associate coach? And lastly, and be careful with this with your wife and daughter here, would you consider a woman for that position?
To answer your question, I'm looking at everything right now. The experience, young, it doesn't matter. I think at the end of the day, it's got to be the right fit for me and also for the team. Yes, we want somebody who has some power play experience, right? I think, but again, I'm looking at everything right now. I'm in that process. We are in that process right now. There's a lot of coaches out there, but I think I'm very confident that we're going to find the right one who checks all those kind of boxes we needed. And but again, it's not just one area. It's got to be a good fit too. I think it's going to be very, very important that I got to be comfortable. The team got to be comfortable because we're going to set the tone, and we want to. We got to come out very strong and very prepared, and the coaching staff, we're going to be together every day. So it's a big hire for me, but again, we're going to take our time a little bit, and hopefully the right one will come.
Bridget Prue, WEI. Marco, this one's for you. A lot of Bruins fans are familiar with your time as a player here in Boston. They're not as familiar with your coaching career in the past you've had in the past few years. What can Bruins fans expect from a Marco Sturm coach team?
Yeah, no, it was very important for me that, my first visit here, or my first interview with the Bruins, that I think everyone knows me as a person, but I also think every coach has a certain switch, right? And the switch comes in when I enter the locker room, not in a good, bad way, whatever, because I love it. All right, I love hanging out. I love going to work every day. I love competing every day, with my team, with my players and coaches. And that was something I want to address, and I want to make sure they know the other side of Marco Sturm, right? And again, I mentioned it before. I'm very clear. I would say the message, the meetings I have, the messages I'm going to deliver. It could be system-wise, could be anything. I think it's very, very clear. There will be no gray area. We're all going to work together, and the one thing is, I'm going to push those guys forward. I hate losing, and I'm very competitive on and off the ice, and that's something, a lot of people don't know about Marco Sturm. So, again, it's not about me. I know today it will be. That's fine. Maybe tomorrow too, but. Be honest, I can't wait to just go in the locker room and just work with my guys. That's what I love to do. That's what I want to do. And I can't wait for day one to see the Bruins fans behind me or behind us and pushing us to the next level.
Joe? Joe Haggerty, Boston Sports Journal. This one's for Don Sweeney. Don, obviously interviewed a bunch of candidates. I'm sure you got lots of sort of outside opinions, thoughts on your team, the roster, all that kind of stuff. How useful for you of an exercise was that part of it? And are there any things that stuck with you getting all of those sort of outside different hockey opinions just about the team, the roster, everything, the way you play, all that stuff?
Yeah, Joe, the process in that sense is it can be uncomfortable in terms of the critical eye that other people are watching your team and breaking down your team and the changes they want to make. You have to be open to all of it. You have to understand that the position we're in, we didn't execute both at the management level and the coaching level and the player level. So we have to be open to that and the tweaks that coaches want to make. It wasn't about coming in to say, well, they're selling me on how they're going to coach, but if they oversell in terms of how the team was previously constructed or any of those things, then it doesn't really have its value. And thankfully, coaches came in and gave their honest opinion of how they wanted to see things. The things you had done well, the things you hadn't done well, the outside perspective that teams have had for the Bruins organization over the years, and the changes that have gone well and haven't gone well during those years, and success or not having success. So those are eye-opening at times, and it's constructive. You have to take it to heart and make adjustments. You know, we're not currently playing right now, so you know, you have to accept the failures that we have, and coaches were honest in pointing that out. You know, Marco went through some of the things that you know, he felt that we had done well, but things that we had gotten away from, and where the league is at and where the league is headed to. It's all important parts of it, and the player development part of it was certainly a big part of those conversations, and how you do integrate the players and when they're going to be ready, and having the connectivity with your minor league program, and how that relates to the development they're doing there. There were some very constructive things that took place during the process that I'm grateful for.
Take our final question over here.
Mike Macklin, WBZ Radio. Marco, John said earlier that the game has evolved offensively, and the team needs to do a better job about that, with that. Has the team been too much physical, not enough skating and passing? How do you address that? Do you need new players? Do you need to shake up the pairings in the offensive line? How do you address that and transform the offense of this team?
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't want to really talk about the past. Just, I mean, of course, I did my homework and I watched a lot of games, and I'm going to address. I even mentioned it, what areas where we need to get better. But again, I'm going to put a system. I already have my system kind of in my head, and I'm going to put a system in place where players will have success. Right? I want them not just you know, just doing a neutral zone forecheck, for example, just because that's what I always did. No, I gotta wait first to a little bit what's comes out, what kind of players I'm going to get, and then I'm going to adjust to it. You know, so there's different things I can tweak a little bit. I think the overall thing it's already in place. But now I got to find out what kind of players I have, and I'm going to react. But end of the day, and I said it before, I want everyone to have success, and I'm going to work towards that, and you know, I'm going to practice that a lot. I'm going to go through it. I'm going to show a lot. It's going to be a lot of meetings. But again, that's why I think training camp is so important for us, because all those little details, all those structure and the foundation will take place there, and that's, again, that's where we're going to address to make those players better offensively. How are we going to do it? I'm not going to tell you today, but hopefully you can see it pretty soon.